The early summer sunlight poured down on the white mansions in Pacific Heights, San Francisco's upscale residential area. Among them stood a particularly impressive two-story Victorian-style house where Olivia and Thomas Williams lived. The couple celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary was highly regarded by their neighbors. Olivia, with her Hollywood star-like shining blonde hair and emerald green eyes, had achieved success as a real estate agent specializing in luxury properties. Her warm smile and thoughtful attention to detail had earned her clients' trust, consistently placing her at the top of annual sales rankings. Thomas, with his handsome features and dignified demeanor, worked as a financial analyst at a major bank. His analytical eye was respected in the industry, and there were rumors of his promotion to department head at a young age. "What should we do about dinner tonight?" Catherine called and said she made reservations at that new Italian restaurant. Olivia said to Thomas, who was reading the newspaper on a holiday morning. He put, "Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home?" "That's exactly what I did without stories, no face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious." Down his coffee cup and answered with a smile, "Let's definitely go. If it weren't for Catherine, we might never have met." Catherine Morris had been Olivia's friend since college. 5 years ago she had introduced Olivia and Thomas at her birthday party. Since then the three had shared a special bond, making it a tradition to spend weekends and vacations together. Catherine must be lonely being by herself. She doesn't seem to have met anyone nice since her divorce. Olivia expressed concern for her friend. Catherine had divorced 2 years ago and had been cautious about dating since then. "Catherine will be fine, she's tough." Thomas shrugged lightly. "By the way, Judith said she's coming over this afternoon. Apparently she's bringing something again." Thomas's mother Judith doted on Olivia as if she were her own daughter. Having lost her husband early, she treasured the time with her son Thomas and his family, making it a habit to visit once a week with homemade treats or small gifts. "Judith is such a wonderful person. I'm so lucky to have her as my mother-in-law." Olivia smiled. "Speaking of which, you said we'd be sharing some special news today, right?" Thomas took Olivia's hand and squeezed it gently. "Yes, I think it's finally time we can tell them." The couple had been trying to conceive for 2 years. After the difficult days of fertility treatments, cycles of hope and disappointment, their wish had finally come true. Olivia had confirmed her pregnancy 3 months ago but had kept this joy a secret from family until her doctor assured her she had entered a stable period. "Mom will be thrilled. It's her first grandchild." Thomas's eyes glistened with tears. "I just wish Dad could be here to see this." Olivia placed her hand on Thomas's cheek and whispered gently, "Your father is surely watching over us from heaven." When Judith arrived in the afternoon, the couple carefully shared the news of the pregnancy. Overwhelmed with emotion, Judith embraced Olivia and they immediately became engrossed in conversations about baby items. Thomas watched his mother and wife talking while gazing at the empty room in the corner. In his mind he was already designing a nursery. "Will it be a boy or a girl?" Judith asked excitedly. "We don't know yet, but we might find out at the next checkup." Olivia replied, "I just want a healthy baby." Thomas added, "But secretly I'm hoping for a girl. I want her to be a strong and kind woman like you, Mom." Judith's eyes moistened at her son's words. Over the next few months Olivia's body began to change gradually. Now 8 months pregnant, her belly had grown large and inside was a healthy baby girl. The couple's joy reached its peak, especially Thomas, who swelled with pride and anticipation of becoming a father. "Olivia, Catherine's on the phone," Thomas said, walking into the living room. "She wants to finalize the details for the baby shower." Catherine and Judith had been planning a surprise baby shower for Olivia. Of course, the surprise was just a formality. They were proceeding with preparations under the pretense of keeping it a secret from Olivia. "Thank you." Olivia took the phone. "Catherine, yes, everything's ready. I'm really looking forward to everyone coming." After finishing the call with Catherine, Olivia sat next to Thomas and rested her head on his shoulder. "We're happy, aren't we?" Thomas placed his hand on her swollen belly and replied, "Absolutely. With you and the baby I lack nothing." That night, as Olivia lay in bed, she contemplated the new chapter of family life about to begin. At the baby shower, where friends and relatives would gather, she planned to renew her commitment to building a loving home for her daughter. On the day of the baby shower, the banquet room at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco was bathed in spring sunlight. The venue, decorated in soft pink and gold, looked like it had stepped out of a fairy tale. Baby shoe-shaped cookies, elegant flower arrangements, and a large banner reading "Welcome Baby Williams" adorned the walls. Olivia, dressed in a champagne pink maternity dress, stood at the entrance of the venue. Judith placed her hand on Olivia's arm and gently smiled. "You're the star today, Olivia. Enjoy yourself." Guests arriving one after another surrounded Olivia, touching her belly and whispering advice about childbirth. Her parents had traveled from afar and were beaming with joy at the sight of their happy daughter. Thomas was at the corner of the room, champagne in hand, chatting with colleagues. "Olivia, you look beautiful today." Catherine approached Olivia dressed in an elegant dress. She kissed her friend's cheek and handed her a handmade album. "This is a collection of photos from your pregnancy. When the baby grows up you can show her how much her mommy waited for her." Olivia touched her eyes with emotion and replied, "Thank you, Catherine, you're truly the best friend." The party progressed in a warm atmosphere with games and gift exchanges. Olivia, surrounded by numerous presents from baby carriages to diaper cakes, seemed to be at the peak of happiness. However, her keen eyes noticed that Thomas was acting differently than usual. Usually sociable and lively, today he seemed restless, frequently checking his watch and looking at his cell phone. Olivia didn't miss how he absently answered questions from close friends and repeatedly glanced at the entrance to the venue. "Thomas, are you all right?" Olivia quietly asked, placing her hand on his arm during the party. "Is something bothering you?" Thomas looked surprised for a moment but quickly regained his smile. "Oh, I'm fine, just a bit concerned about an urgent work matter." "Don't worry, today is your special day." Olivia smiled with relief, but a small anxiety began to sprout in the depths of her heart. During their 5 years of marriage she had learned to read Thomas's true feelings from his expressions and tone of voice. Today he seemed to be harboring something more than just work worries. "Thomas seems to be hiding something." Samantha, Olivia's sister, stood beside her as she came to get a drink. "I saw him on the phone in the hallway earlier. He looked very serious, but as soon as I approached he hung up." Olivia took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "It must be about work. He said he's been assigned a big project recently." "Maybe." Samantha shrugged as if convinced, but Catherine seems strange today too. She's been checking her phone constantly and stepping out several times. Olivia turned toward her friend. Indeed, Catherine seemed restless, checking her cell phone repeatedly between conversations with other guests. Though she and Thomas never left their seats at the same time, both seemed to have a sense of urgency. "Maybe it's the pregnancy hormones, but something feels odd today," Olivia murmured quietly. Samantha embraced her sister's shoulder and said brightly, "Don't think about unnecessary things. You should enjoy this lovely party. Maybe Thomas and Catherine are planning some secret surprise for you." That was a plausible explanation. Olivia laughed off her suspicions and returned to the circle of guests to participate in a pregnancy game. This was her special day and it wasn't worth spending time on anxious imaginings. As the time for opening presents approached, Catherine took the microphone and gathered everyone's attention. "Everyone, thank you for coming today to celebrate Olivia, Thomas, and the new life we'll be opening presents soon. But before that, a few words please." Catherine handed the microphone to Olivia. Olivia stood up and with an emotional expression began to speak. "Everyone, thank you from the bottom of my heart for such a wonderful party, especially to Catherine and Judith. I have no words to express my gratitude for all the preparations, and most of all." As she looked at Thomas, she saw him standing near the entrance holding something in his hand. When Olivia tried to continue, Thomas approached her and gestured for the microphone. "Love the first, have a special surprise," Thomas said with a smile. "There's something I want to tell everyone." A smile spread across Olivia's face. Surely Thomas had prepared a moving speech, or perhaps it was a special gift for the baby. With growing expectation she handed the microphone to Thomas. Tension hung in the air and all eyes were focused on Thomas. He adjusted his grip on the microphone, cleared his throat and surprisingly began speaking in a calm voice. "Everyone, thank you for gathering on this special day. I sincerely thank Catherine and Judith for organizing this wonderful baby shower for Olivia and me." Olivia smiled and let out a sigh of relief. Perhaps her anxiety had been unfounded. Thomas had likely prepared a speech to please her, fitting it in between his busy work schedule. However, Thomas's next words shattered that sense of relief in an instant. "Everyone, there's one more important announcement today." Thomas's voice changed. It was ice cold and somehow filled with determination. Olivia's smile froze. He took out a white envelope from his inner pocket and held it up high. "This is the baby's DNA test report." The venue fell silent. It was as if time had stopped. Olivia felt her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She stared at Thomas, wishing this was some kind of joke or a bad dream, but there wasn't a trace of humor in his expression. A small murmur began to rise among the guests. Olivia's parents looked at each other with confused expressions, and Samantha couldn't hide her intense distress. Judith opened her mouth to say something to her son, but Thomas raised his hand to stop her. "A week ago I received an anonymous contact. It claimed that my wife was hiding something from me," Thomas continued calmly. At first I couldn't believe it. I couldn't imagine doubting Olivia, but faced with the evidence I felt I needed to know the truth. Olivia gripped the back of a chair with trembling hands. Confused thoughts swirled in her head. What is he talking about? Anonymous contact DNA test. She had nothing to hide. I carefully conducted an investigation and obtained this result. Thomas opened the envelope and took out the document. The test results are clear. It's not my child. What does this mean? The last words turned into a shout that echoed throughout the venue. Thomas's voice mixed with anger and pain. His hands trembled and tears welled up in his eyes. Olivia felt the blood draining from her body. Her feet wavered and for a moment she almost fell. Samantha quickly rushed to her side and supported her sister's shoulders. Thomas, what are you saying? Olivia's voice trembled. What kind of joke is this? Joke? Thomas displayed a sarcastic smile. What kind of joke? Did you think our marriage was for 5 years of loved and trusted you? I wished for a child and went through fertility treatments with you, and now DNA testing has revealed that this child is not mine. Sounds of shock rose from among the guests. Everyone was witnessing an unbelievable scene. Catherine was clearly distressed, her face pale as she retreated to the corner of the room. Her eyes were wide with fear and guilt. Thomas, please. Judith grabbed her son's arm. This is not the place to discuss such matters in front of everyone. I want everyone to know. Thomas shook off his mother's hand. I want everyone to know what kind of woman Olivia is. Olivia took a deep breath, trying to control her trembling. Recovering from the initial shock, anger began to rise within her. She had done nothing wrong and Thomas's claims were completely false. But why had he taken such action, and why did he have such test results? The venue had fallen into complete chaos. Olivia's friends gathered around her protectively and voices criticizing Thomas began to be heard. On the other hand, there were also people casting doubtful glances her way. At that moment, Olivia made a decision. She slowly stood up and took a deep breath. The calmness and negotiation skills she had cultivated as a professional real estate agent were needed now more than ever. Everyone, please be quiet, she said in a composed voice. Surprisingly steady, her voice gradually silenced the noisy venue. Thomas, may I see that test result? Thomas hesitated slightly but handed her the paper. Olivia glanced at it and nodded slightly. Everyone, I have something I'd like to show you too. She took her handbag and pulled out her own envelope. The blood drained from Thomas's face. He was clearly disturbed and took a step back. What is that? His voice began to become unstable. The truth, Thomas, Olivia said quietly, the truth you've been hiding. Catherine let out a small cry and began to move toward the exit. However, Samantha quickly blocked her path. Catherine, where are you going? Samantha's voice was filled with accusation. The real surprise is just beginning. Olivia opened the envelope and took out the documents. Her hands were not trembling. For the past month she had been preparing for this moment. This is the DNA test report for a child born between Thomas and Catherine, Olivia said in a clear voice, and this is evidence of their secret relationship. She pulled out another document. It looked very similar to the test results Thomas had shown, but the date and signature were different, and this is evidence that the DNA test report Thomas showed today is forged. The venue was enveloped in complete silence. Thomas stood frozen at a loss for words, and Catherine had begun to cry. Olivia's parents glared at the two with angry expressions. A month ago I accidentally saw messages between Thomas and Catherine, Olivia continued. At first I couldn't believe it. My husband and my best friend. She faltered for a moment but quickly continued. But I immediately hired a private investigator and uncovered the truth. They have been having an affair for 2 years and they have a 2-year-old son. Olivia pulled out another photo. It showed a small boy who strongly resembled Thomas, and Thomas created this fake DNA test report to evict me and gain the house and property. Thomas blushed and tried to say something but no words came out. His plan had been completely exposed and there was no escape. Catherine collapsed in tears, kneeling on the floor. Olivia, she began to say while crying, but Olivia raised her hand to stop her. Enough, Catherine. The first I thought you were my friend for 5 years, but you betrayed me for 2 years, and today you participated in a plan to hurt me and my baby. Olivia looked at Thomas, staring directly into his eyes. I learned this truth a month ago. It happened when I borrowed Thomas's laptop to check work files. I accidentally opened his email inbox and saw the exchanges with Catherine. Olivia took a deep breath before continuing. Her voice conveyed more anger than sadness. At first I couldn't believe it. My husband and best friend behind my back. She chose her words carefully as she spoke. Those emails detailed that they had a child together, plans to evict me, and even discussions about falsifying DNA tests for my unborn child. Thomas opened his mouth to make excuses, but Olivia didn't give him the opportunity to speak. Be quiet, she said in a harsh tone. You had plenty of opportunities to talk during our 5 years of marriage. Today is my turn. The venue was dead silent. Judith stood near her son wearing a dazed expression. She opened her mouth several times but ultimately remained silent. I immediately hired a private investigator, Olivia continued, and the truth quickly became clear. Thomas and Catherine's relationship had been going on for 2 years. They have a 2-year-old son named Aiden, and Catherine's divorce was a lie. She had never actually been married. Catherine raised her face, tears in her eyes. Olivia, I know Catherine. Olivia said calmly. I thought you were my best friend for 15 years. Since college we've been like sisters. At my wedding you were my maid of honor, and now you conspired with my husband to hurt me and my unborn child. Thomas twisted his face in agony. Olivia, listen, I can imagine what you want to say. Olivia displayed a sarcastic smile. I love you, or it was a mistake, but whatever you say now doesn't matter. Your actions tell the whole story. She pulled out another document. It was a printout of messages. These are messages exchanged between Thomas and Catherine. Pregnancy was the perfect cover. Now's the time to execute our plan. If we evict Olivia, we'll get the house and property. We can start a new life with Aiden and us. Angry voices rose from among the guests. Olivia's parents were furious. Her father Robert clenched his fist and took a step toward Thomas but was restrained by his wife Eleanor. Your plan was perfect, Olivia continued calmly. Show a fake DNA test report in public at the baby shower. Accuse me of infidelity. People would distance themselves from me and sympathize with Thomas, and I would leave the house in divorce mediation. Thomas would be in an advantageous position. Brilliant plan. She looked alternately at Thomas and Catherine. Both had lost their words and stood stunned. But you made one mistake, Olivia said in a confident voice. You underestimated me. Samantha stood next to her sister, placing her hand on her shoulder supportively. Pride shone in her eyes after the discovery. I took immediate action, Olivia continued her explanation. I gathered evidence, consulted with lawyers, and verified all property situations. In fact, there's something Thomas doesn't know. For the past 3 years I've built up considerable assets, not just from real estate transactions but through wise investments. Our house was actually purchased in my name. The color drained from Thomas's face. He was clearly shaken, and most importantly, Olivia gently placed her hand on her belly. This child is definitely yours, Thomas. The real DNA test results are here. I can also prove the family medical history. You've always claimed this child is unmistakably a Williams. However, I don't think she deserves to inherit your last name. Everyone in the venue held their breath as they watched Olivia make her declaration. Olivia, Judith said in a small voice. I knew nothing about this. If I had known. I understand, Judith. Olivia showed a soft expression. For the first time you've done nothing wrong, and no one can take away your right to be this child's grandmother. Tears welled up in Judith's eyes and she nodded slightly. Olivia turned to Thomas and calmly declared, I am filing for divorce starting today. I will raise this child alone. I don't want to be involved with someone like you. Wait, Olivia. Thomas said desperately. Let's talk. There's nothing more to talk about, Olivia said in a resolute tone. You betrayed me and endangered this child's future. It would be much better for me to raise this child alone than for her to have you as a father. Olivia's parents rushed to her side, standing on either side to support her. We will support Olivia, Robert declared strongly. My daughter and granddaughter will want for nothing. Thomas's face wreathed with shame and anger as he looked at Catherine. She stood crying. Their plan had been completely exposed and there was no escape. One last thing, Olivia lowered her voice. Catherine, the first have nothing to say about you and Aiden. He is an innocent child, but I never want to see you again. Catherine nodded slightly. Her face showed deep regret. Thomas, leave here right now, Olivia commanded calmly. I need time to organize the house before you return. Thomas tried to say something but Samantha glared at him sternly. In the end he silently dropped his shoulders and left the venue. Catherine followed without anyone seeing her off. The moment the door closed, Olivia's strength almost crumbled. For an instant she sat down in a chair and exhaled deeply, but she quickly composed herself and smiled at the friends and family gathered around her. Everyone, I'm sorry it turned out this way, she said gently, but I think this is the beginning of a new life for me and my baby. Please continue to support us. Judith took her hand and squeezed it firmly. You are truly a strong woman, Olivia. I am on your side. 1 month after the baby shower, the morning sun streamed into Olivia's bedroom in San Francisco, where a small cry resonated. Emma Elizabeth Rose, born 2 weeks earlier than expected, had entered the world as a small but healthy baby girl. Good morning, my little warrior. Olivia lifted her daughter from the crib and smiled gently at her. Emma's tiny fingers tightly gripped hers, filling Olivia's heart with love. The past month had been tumultuous. Divorce proceedings with Thomas were underway and rumors had it that he had left town with Catherine. Thomas's lawyer had repeatedly offered settlements but Olivia firmly refused them. I cannot forgive what he tried to do to you and your child, She stated clearly during a meeting with the lawyer, all I want is for him to completely disappear from our lives. Surprisingly, Thomas's position at his company was also wavering when his dishonest behavior became known in the industry. His reputation plummeted and many clients terminated their contracts. They had all been clients who trusted him for his character, not just his expertise. Meanwhile, a letter had arrived from Catherine the First. Have no excuses. As your best friend, I continued to betray you. I didn't want you to know about Aiden, but that's no excuse. I sincerely wish for your happiness. After reading the letter, Olivia pondered for a while but ultimately didn't reply. In her heart there was more sadness and a sense of release than anger. The farewell to the past had opened the door to a new beginning. Olivia, breakfast is ready. Judith's voice came from the kitchen. Thomas's mother, deeply hurt by her son's actions, had chosen to support Olivia and Emma. She had temporarily moved into Olivia's house to help the new mother. I'm coming, Olivia responded, carrying Emma down the stairs. In the kitchen, her parents and Samantha were helping prepare breakfast. Flowers decorated the table and bright lights streamed through the windows. This scene was the family image Olivia had long dreamed of, a true family bound not just by blood but by love and trust. Emma, you are a very fortunate girl. Olivia kissed her daughter's forehead. You have many loving family members. She gazed at the blue sky outside the window and smiled quietly. The road ahead would certainly not be smooth, but she had strength and people who supported her, and above all she had her bond with her daughter Emma. A true family, Olivia thought in her heart, is bound by truth and love, not lies and betrayal. She carried Emma to the table where her family waited. A new day, a new life was beginning right here, right now.